I was in another college course one time. Professor marched in and says, "We knew those creationists were wrong a long time ago. Well, look at the amount of sodium in the ocean. We know how much sodium is there. We know how much sodium is actually carried into the ocean via the rivers every year. And we can do a simple little calculation. And that calculation shows that the ocean must be at least 260 million years old." Wow, that's old, isn't it? But he's making some assumptions, isn't he? He's making an assumption that the sodium is carried into the ocean at the same rate all the time. We have to make the assumption that there was no sodium in the ocean at the beginning. These are initial conditions, and the rate, again, same type of problems. Well, you know, that day, I just happened to have this chart in my briefcase. And what's interesting about it, I don't believe in coincidences, I believe in Godcidences. I looked down at that chart, and I looked at it and says, yep, number 42 on the list. Exactly like he said. The influx of sodium to the ocean via the rivers would take 260 million years. But then I looked down the list a little further, and I saw, wait a minute, the influx of calcium to the ocean via the rivers would only take 1 million years. That's a far cry from 260 million years. Then I said the influx of aluminum, I saw that on the chart, would only take 100 years to form all that aluminum. How about iron? It takes 145 years only. So I asked the professor, you know, how come you showed us only the age that gives you the most ancient of all these methods, sodium, and you didn't mention any of the other? We said, well, I guess I just didn't know they measured the other things. Well, I could accept that. He was probably teaching what he was taught. But a few years later, I was working with some of this professor's students. It was about 5 years later. They were memorizing some facts for the test. One of the facts they were memorizing was the accumulation of sodium to the river, through the rivers to the ocean would take 260 million years to get all the sodium. I asked these students, did he mention anything about silicon or any of these other elements that shows a vastly different age? He said, oh no, they didn't tell us, or he didn't tell us anything about that. Now I know this professor was teaching only what he wanted the students to hear. He knew that information, but he chose not to present it. That's a one-sided education, and that shouldn't be what we should have in education. We need a balanced treatment here.